Hi, everybody, and welcome. My name is Melanie Dizon. I'm the Director of Education at the Davis-Phinney Foundation, and I am here today with Kat Hill. Hello, Kat.
Hi, Mel.
Kat is part of our YOPD Council. She's also a Davis-Phinney Foundation ambassador. She speaks for us, and she's just an overall big and happy friend of the Davis-Phinney Foundation. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about what it's like to have been diagnosed with YOPD. So can you share a little bit about your diagnosis story, sort of what that process was like, and was it something that you accepted right away, or did it take a little bit of time?
Okay, sure. So I was busy in my, mid 40s working, and I was the director of a busy midwifery service, delivering babies at a big inner city hospital in Portland, Oregon. I was raising 3 teenagers, and I was caring for my mom, who was having her third bout of cancer. And so I didn't expect to be feeling really good during that time. And I was sleep deprived often because I was up delivering babies all night. So I blew off a lot of symptoms for a very long time. Fatigue, a little bit of shakiness, especially that internal tremor. And I was running also at the time, and I'd noticed my foot would drag. And I just thought, I'm tired. I maybe need new shoes. Typical denial. So it really wasn't until my hand started tremoring that I went in for some follow-up and received a diagnosis. And I was shocked, frankly. I apparently was in really pretty good denial, even though my dad had Parkinson's. But my dad was diagnosed in his mid 70s. So it really wasn't something I was looking out for. So I really was in big denial, and I pretty much laid on my couch for about 6 to 8 weeks.
Oh.
And I was tired. I think I finally gave in to how fatigued I was, and it took me a while to accept it. I was kind of sure the doc was wrong, frankly, because, I knew better. So it took me a while. And I would say it took me probably a good 2 to 3 months to get it in my head that it might be something more than just what I was thinking it was. And then I also decided I really had a choice. I could continue to lay around and minimize my symptoms, which was really tempting because I was busy. My mom died during that period. Laying around sounded pretty good, but it got pretty old and pretty self-pity wasn't really a good fit for me. So I've gotten up and gotten active, and I did leave my job, which was significant and very.
How long after your diagnosis did you leave the job?
I left before I was even diagnosed. I
Okay.
left feeling badly, went out and tried to sort it out, and that was when the laying around came in. And I ended up not going back. Some of that was because the demands of the job were so incredible, and also medical, legally, I needed to be really careful about how I chose to practice in a really high litigious.
Oh, yeah.
And my hands were shaking, and I thought, it's not a very reassuring thing when a midwife comes in to say, everything's going to be just fine. I'll catch your baby. Don't worry, So, and really, I did it, though, more for me than for patients. I needed to take some time to take care of myself. And I didn't think I could do that well with the balance of the job.
Right.
So it was very, it was a lot of grief at the beginning. And since that grief, there's been some amazing new discoveries. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Did you find, once you kind of came to accept the diagnosis, did you find it difficult to find others who were your age, dealing with many of the same issues of work and kids and family and all of those things that, happen with young onset?
Yeah, I actually did, Mel, and I was surprised by that. I considered myself fairly knowledgeable about resources in the area, and and I got plugged in right away with support groups in the area. But I found that I went and there were lovely, lovely people there, but most of them the age of my parents. They couldn't relate, or there weren't discussions about how to manage, what do you do about retirement? What do you do? They were kind of in the grandparent mode, and it was lovely, but not a fit for me. So um, I, it was ironic. I showed up at one of those groups and there was another young woman there, and she and I connected and said, we can't find anything. And so we decided to start our own support group. And we've had a lot of support with our local organization called Parkinson's Resources of Oregon to just give us free reign. We actually run a happy hour group when we're not in quarantine. We try to focus on the normal, normal living, and what challenges are brought to that when you have Parkinson's. But we try to circle back to, okay, how do we find some joy or happiness, or how do we ride this out even with the challenges of Parkinson's? So
yeah. That's great. So how long have you been doing that group?
So it's been about a little over 3 years. I was diagnosed 4.5 years ago. So we started it fairly early. And
Yeah.
that co-founder and I have since written speeches, spoken Japan. We're writing a book. We're seeking publishers currently.
Wow.
It's really, that sense of community has been invaluable. And Davis Phinney has been a big part of that, part of my networking nationally and internationally. So
yeah, that's super exciting. So when I approached you about the YOPD Council, why did you want to join? What was it? Why was that important to you?
I think I remembered what it was like to be newly diagnosed. And I wanted somebody to tell me like it was, and not, I didn't want to read a pamphlet. I didn't want to hear what the experts said. I'm perfectly capable of looking that up. I really wanted, and I wanted to be able to share with people what it's really like, and for people to be able to ask hard questions. And I also really admire the group that I sit on the panel with. And we may come off a little all over the place, but that's kind of Parkinson's. And I think it's good for people to see us having a good time, even if we're a little off topic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, I think that's one of the things that everyone says the most. They kind of like, I want to be part of that group. I don't know what it is, but there's some sort of energy that comes from it. Hope, reality, all those things in one session. So I think that is great.
I'm glad it's good.
Yeah.
I'm really grateful that you've done it, because I think I'm hearing a lot of good feedback. So I feel like maybe we're helping people a little bit.
Right? A little bit. That's all it takes. Yeah. Okay. So what would you say have, for you in your situation, been the most challenging pieces of having Parkinson's or being diagnosed younger than many? And then what are the silver linings? You mentioned that earlier today. What are some of the silver linings?
So I think one of the biggest pieces for me was retiring or taking medical disability in my 40s. That's not really what I planned in my life. So my ego needed to catch up with my realities. That I could still be a midwife to others, even though I wasn't delivering their babies. I didn't stop my brain just because I stopped practicing. That I still had a voice and an ability to be with other people and be engaged and be of service. Being of service is really a big value for me, and I have learned new ways to be of service. And I think I feel really privileged that I have a place to do that. And what I want to tell people is that, we only get one life. We get this one life, and good, bad, different, Parkinson's, no Parkinson's, diabetes, there's all kinds of things out there. We all get our challenges, but we still have the opportunity to live our lives. And if you stop that because of a diagnosis or being put in a box by some words, that's a loss. It takes time to redefine things. probably my biggest challenges. That, so the ego part was one, the physical part is the other. I thought, okay, I have Parkinson's, I'm going to learn some new skills, I'm going to learn to watercolor, I'm going to do all these things. And then I got hand dystonia, and my hands really stopped working and were cramped a lot of the time. I've had quite a bit of relief with Botox, but they're not back to normal. So I had to relearn even those parts, and thought, well, okay, Parkinson's isn't going to stop me. Dystonia is not going to stop me. How am I going to make all this work? And it's a dance. It's a dance whether you have Parkinson's or not. Mm-hmm. Let's face it. Life is progressive and degenerative.
Right.
None of us are getting out of this alive, right? Right. So how we do the dance is what we have control over. We don't have control over the music, and we don't have control over some of the pieces, but we do have control about how we react to it. So, yeah. And it's made a big difference for me.
Yeah. So in terms of silver lining, and I think a lot of people talk about this, is just when you can get out of your head and start helping other people, it makes a huge, huge difference. I mean, it's physically beneficial for us. It's mentally, emotionally, all of those things.
All of those things.
Yeah, I think
it's remarkable what we're finding, even scientifically. Right. And Mel, the other thing is gratitude. I know that isn't, but gratitude has become an integral part of my process. And I started just writing 3 things a day that I was grateful for. But when you're thinking about gratitude, you're noticing it more all day long. Like, oh, I'm going to pay attention to what I'm grateful for. And suddenly I found myself not focusing on all the things that were wrong with the house, or all the things that I wanted to redecorate because I was in it a lot or whatever. But I focused on, gosh, how grateful I am that the roof works, mm-hmm. or the toilet flushes, or the
right.
most of the time. Right. So anyway, that's a tidbit.
Yeah, I love that. One of the things that sort of combining the service with the gratitude, that as a therapist in a previous life, one of the things that I would have people do is actually express gratitude to somebody. Write a letter, spend 30 days and write a letter every single day and say thank you to so-and-so. So not only are you expressing gratitude, but you're making somebody else feel great and seen and heard. And that's sort of that piece of how I can be of service by literally writing 1 sentence. And it takes me out of the fact that something hurts, or I don't want to do something. And
or making a phone call these days. We're so kind of removed from people. And a lot of folks with PD are older and feeling more isolated these days. So even making a phone call, it can really lighten your day and somebody else's day.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Great. So let's say you have a giant platform, which you have right now, and you get to say to somebody who's recently been diagnosed with YOPD, they have a young family, they're working, and they are really, really, really scared about the future, about the financial future, and about how they're going to make this happen. What is something that you think is really important for them to know about living well with Parkinson's?
I think first off, you need to give yourself permission to grieve. I think you need to give yourself some space to be sad, to be scared, to be a little bit self-pitying. You have to. It's a process, and I don't think you can move on until you've done that part. But once you've done that part, you've got to remember that you still have life. You still have a life. And the picture may be really different than we planned. And it can be rich, it can be full, it can be dream fulfilling. It just might be different than you planned. And for me, that's meant, I was the primary breadwinner in our house when I left. And that has meant reevaluating some things. But I've not given it up. I've only given up travel for COVID right now. But I'm going to get back on that horse. We just are creative about how we do it. We house trade. I plan a lot. You can live a really rich, fulfilling life. It just may be a little different than you pictured it. and don't give up. There's people out here wanting to support you also. If you need community, we all need community. And if you don't feel like you have that, there's one here for you. Davis Phinney is a great resource for that. All of the ambassadors are eager to talk to you. And just don't feel alone. Don't feel you aren't alone. There are those of us out here ready to talk to you and ready to share that there's really a lot of richness on the other side.
Right. That's great. Well, thank you so much, Kat, for talking to us today. I'm so grateful to have you. I'm so grateful that you're on the panel, and can't wait to talk to you more.
Thanks. Bye, everybody.